All right, so we're back on a beautiful fall morning here in Atlanta. No Expectations, the podcast, and meeting the title of our show, No Expectations. We've shown up after a few months off of.
I would say we've been off. We've definitely not met in this space.
We haven't met with the microphone in front of us.
Exactly.
And had a conversation. So we're back.
Welcome back. It's good to see you again.
It's great to see you.
You're rocking that hat today.
So I've been told. There will be no rhyme to go along with that.
If you don't follow Andrew on his Andrew Housley's social media, then you're missing out. I encourage you to go check him out now because
it will only get weirder. So, I mean, lots been going on in the world. In my world, I know. I don't know what's going on in your world.
Yeah, the same. Busy life of a mom with young kids and.
I have the exact opposite.
Unbusy with
Unbusy, no kids.
Would you like to borrow mine?
I'm good.
Okay.
I've heard about that, but it does not intrigue me at all.
Yeah, fair.
Not interested.
Okay, fair.
So, I've been kind of on finding my way back onto a spiritual path. I kind of wandered off a bit myself, or just was looking in a different direction. I decided to take a long break from teaching yoga asana. I had found myself at the point of burnout, or maybe past the point of burnout. Just be completely honest. And woke up one day and made the choice that I needed to stop, and so I stopped full. And haven't looked back since. Wow. Not that I don't enjoy teaching or any of those things, but I felt like I needed to fill up my own cup, stop and kind of assess how much I was giving of myself away. And so that's where I am right now, and kind of focusing on I have a new book coming out in a few weeks, so focusing on kind of getting that birthed into the world and sharing that, and all the anxiety and stuff that comes along with that. So that's where I am.
Okay, I have two different directions I want to kind of pick on that. One is as a teacher. I remember when I was taking classes from you as a student very regularly, and when those classes ended and you moved in a different direction, it was really hard for me as a student because I'd come to expect the asanas and the teachings that you had guided me on. How do you think your students are dealing with your departure?
Quite a number of them reached out to me and said, hey, what's going on? When can where else can we practice with you? So I think they're a little freaked out, but really what I've always wanted to instill in my students is that, change is the only constant, and that you shouldn't be attached to me, the teacher, or anything other than just enjoying the practice and understanding that part is gone. So if we think, as we talk about in yogic terms or spiritual terms, is life and death, beginning and end. And that part of the journey for them has ended. We can't be attached to that. And what I've told them is I'm always here to support their practice or their questions or them moving forward. But I think it was it's probably natural that from a teacher, you want your students to continue on their journey and find their own way. It's kind of, as we talked about maybe in the other episodes, it's like removing the crutches. Yeah. And now it's time for you to stand on your own and see, and maybe give you some perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe because, in my own experience, when I had other teachers that I worked with for a long time and they decided to change gears or move out of town or move to another place or move off this plane of existence, they pass away. There's a sadness, but there's also the potential to grow and also appreciate what you had. Like, maybe I wasn't really living in that moment with that teacher, and if I'd only paid attention a little bit more, if I was only a little bit more intense in my discipline there, I might have been able to cull something else out. So my hope for them is that they learned from our time together and they can build on it.
Yeah. That's what I found, because it's all about me. Back when you left, the classes that we were taking, whether it was the COVID online classes or in studio, that moment of, oh crap, now what am I going to do? Do I have to go find a new teacher who teaches like Andrew? And that expectation of walking into a class and expecting a teacher to teach like you, or a different teacher that I had. What I took away from that was letting go of those expectations and recalling what I did learn from you, which, in the asana world was so easy to carry on in my bedroom or, out in the field somewhere, wherever I wanted to take it. So
that was always the thing, that should be how it is. You should never have to be tethered to somebody. Like, you take those things and you do with them what you want later.
Yeah.
So I wish all my students the best, and again, if they ever need something, they can always reach out to me and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this or that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
So it never goes away.
Yeah, I know that you gave your students a gift of being able to take those asanas and the style of teaching, and I know they can apply it to wherever they are. So
yeah, so it wasn't only just asanas, it was also just having a deeper conversation. And I think that worked for some students and that didn't work for others, because they had an expectation. Like, hey, I want just I would kind of say as a musician, like, stop boring us, get to the chorus. Like, stop telling us about all the spiritual mumbo jumbo and like, what am I, cultivating awareness and breathing and sitting still, and just stop all that and then just tell me what you want me to do in a movement way. So there was, trying to find that balance to give something to everybody and maybe something that they weren't expecting to.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
What was the second part of the two-parter?
There could have been 3 parts, but the second.
No expectation.
No
we
expectation.
can keep moving around.
Oh, you talked so much, I forgot what the second part was.
Wow.
The second part, you touched on burnout and how, one of the very last times we met, or in the spring, we talked about burnout.
Right.
And I think in a lot of ways it was a bit of a foreshadowing that you and I both experienced burnout in different ways, and how just recently we've both come to realize that we're back on the path again. Right.
Well, it's like you're never off the path.
Right.
Sometimes the path gets a little overgrown, Yeah. And sometimes it's required that you cut back the path, just so you can see it again. And that's my experience with it. Is I was so struggling. I was so focused on somebody else's struggle, and not just one person's, but dozens of people.
Yeah.
And I was finding myself unable to focus on my own path and its maintenance. And that is a dilemma, because you want to. For me, as somebody who's trying to do that, you want to give your best to everybody. You want to give them the opportunity, the tools they need. But if you're, in my experience, in my case, I wasn't sharpening my own tool, and I couldn't clear my own path. And I was probably, I was getting mentally tired, physically exhausted, and then on more than one occasion, like, physically ill.
Yeah.
And that was probably the last point for me. And I think we talked about that in the Burnout episode, was that if you don't listen to yourself, your body will give you a hard wake-up call.
Yeah.
It'll show you the brick wall.
Yeah.
And I hadn't hit the brick wall, but I had contracted COVID twice in the last 5 months.
Wow.
You know, so it was kind of like, okay, buddy.
Okay.
I don't know what else I need to show you here, but here's another dose of COVID.
It's time to get to bushwhacking, my friend.
It's time to learn how to work that machete. So, how did burnout hit you? Oh, I mean, you're telling me you've maybe gone through some burnout yourself.
Yeah, I just the go, and the giving of, as a mom, I would reach the end of my day where the thought would be, I don't want to make another freaking meal for a person. Yeah. and that was just a very small symptom, but that burnout where I'm touched out, I'm tired of doing everything for everyone, not just my family, but also giving myself to, the other areas of my life. And physically, it takes a hit. I take a step back and realize that I haven't practiced my asanas or really just my ritual of sitting in meditation like I had been, because I just, as soon as my feet hit the floor, I allowed myself to get up and go.
You just hit the ground running.
Hit the ground running, and then my sleep was impacted, my nutrition was impacted, which impacts all the physical and spiritual parts. So the big difference for me is going through this, I've been able to recognize it before it was so deep. And,
Well, this is great, but that's growth, and I think that's what I want everyone who's listening to realize, that maybe, in the past, you're thinking, oh, I've got to be on this path, and I've got to, and if I fall off the path, I'm failing. So we're here to tell you that as somebody who's done this for decades, I fall off the path and I come back on. Or I've drifted off. Maybe not fallen off the path. I'm not in the ditch. But maybe I've just, drifted off. My eyes are looking in a different direction. But it's okay, and that's part of the learning process. And so to you, like, your awareness, like saying, okay, I've veered away, I can come back. Mm-hmm. And maybe the veering away was not so severe this time, or for as long a period of time as it may have been in the past.
Yeah.
And so that's a great learning experience. And that shows growth.
Yeah.
Because in the past, maybe a different version of Jen would have veered off, like, way down the road.
Kept pushing until...
Maybe taking on some really bad habits.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it just, like, whatever it might have been, I don't know what those are. Then it takes a whole lot longer to get back to where you are.
Absolutely.
So it's okay. And I mean, we're both here to acknowledge that dipping away is okay.
What I've seen in this process too is the value of having a spiritual friend. We've been friends for a long time, but coming into this phase where it's been easy to kind of reach out to you and know, the trust that we've built with each other, and the understanding of, we know our paths, you've seen me go through it, and just the checking in on each other was in that growth as well, the acknowledgement that having a spiritual friend is important.
Yeah.
And invaluable.
Yeah, and I think that's it's those are things that require cultivation, require maintenance. You can't just have that only when you want it. It can't be a one-way street, but it's okay. And it's sorry, there's lots of birds out here today.
There are.
We're sitting in a beautiful little pasture here, surrounded by kudzu. I feel like at any moment the kudzu's going to overtake.
Is it growing or
here?
Yeah.
So, what else is going on? What else should we talk about? You got something?
Go ahead, you go.
Well, I've been enamored with the thought of dreams lately.
Dreams, okay.
And I've,
like,
not dreams.
You show up in high school without underwear on, pants and underwear kind of dreams, because.
I mean, that's a different conversation. I mean, I just show up on the internet without a shirt on.
Okay. Oh my God, you're reliving your dream.
And it's not a dream. It's not a dream. It's reality.
It's real. So dreams.
So dreams, not so much about what the future is or aspirations, but more of what my subconscious is telling me when I'm asleep. been really thinking about that a lot lately. And I've gotten to this point where before I fall asleep at night, as I close my eyes laying on the pillow, I just tell myself repeatedly, remember your dreams, remember your dreams, remember your dreams. And I think we've all gone that experience where we have a dream, it's very, very lucid, it's very, seems like it happened. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, oh, I got to remember this. And I do it all the time.
An hour later, you'd already forgotten it.
Yeah, and so like, oh, I'm gonna write this down, and then you never write it down because I already gonna remember this, and then you wake up in the morning, and you're like, wow, I had a great dream, but I don't remember what it was.
I remember how it made me feel at 3 a.m.
And so that's where it's been for me lately. It's waking up at 3:30 every day with these just like intense amount of like vivid dreams.
Are you writing them down?
Writing them down. There is this idea that is the kind of the veil moment in your spiritual journey, like that part of your brain is clicked into a deeper space, and so you're connected to your subconscious, and so if you find that moment, then you can be really creative. And it's me as a creative, I'm like always trying to find another way, and it's been pretty fun. I'm gonna say the sleep has been hurting.
Who cares when you have like a
but so getting into that, have you ever done any of dream journaling or anything like that?
I haven't, but I'm intrigued. When I think about the dreams the last time I remember really remembering my dreams, they were always during really high anxiety, intense moments in my life, and the dreams would be the ones that would startle me wide awake in fear and anxiety. But now I like, other than like laying in bed and telling yourself to remember your dreams and having a journal on hand, like, is that it?
Like, and then maybe try to dissect them. I think when I was writing my first book, Waiting, I was dreaming a lot of snakes. Mm-hmm. And if you've read Waiting, which I know you have, but the protagonist is kind of a snake. Yeah. But I was dreaming about snakes a lot, and I don't have a fear of snakes per se, but thinking about snakes in a spiritual way, that they're a creature of transformation. Mm-hmm. The shedding of the skin, the regeneration, the recoiling, all of those things. I do remember that a lot. So what's been going on a lot lately, I won't give away, but I am thinking about those things in context of my life and trying to connect it or reconnect it to my intuition. Because on occasion, I think we all do, we lose connection with our intuition. We stop trusting ourselves. And I'm trying to see if I can connect my dreams with the things that I feel in my gut.
Mm-hmm. And not necessarily in your head from your experience. Okay.
Well, hello.
Hi.
There's a bird just landed on the chair next to Jen.
Hi.
It's literally less than a foot away from her.
Hello.
Hello, my friend.
How are you?
Are we dreaming?
There's something being said right now.
Mm-hmm. Is that a goldfinch? I don't know what that is. It's a very curious little fellow sitting with us for just a few minutes now. And he doesn't seem to have any intention of leaving. We're not feeding him. He's just... or she. I'm not really sure. If you might be able to just get him to jump on your finger. Let's see how this goes. If we had only videotaped this.
Huh. What are you telling me today, bird? What are we talking about? That's all right. Hello. Hello. Sorry, fast neighbors.
We had our first guest.
First.
Our first guest.
I love it. All right.
So what were we talking about? Oh, we're talking about dreams.
Dreams, and
and connecting them to our intuition. And seeing, and so that's an experiment that I'm trying on myself. See if I can connect with my intuition a little bit better. What do you think about that?
I think it is important in the spiritual journey to kind of peel back the layers of am I reacting in the space through my experience, things I've learned, or is it deep down your intuition that's telling you to, that little voice in your head? Is it just your anxiety or your, ego speaking, or is it your intuition? And being able to discern the difference takes.
So what do you think the biggest block to intuition is?
The ego?
Ego, I mean, fear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that thing that we talked about a million times. Fear, anger, control, entitlement. Jen has a new friend. I might jump on your shoulder here in a minute.
I know.
Or jump in your hair.
I know.
Yeah, he's left now.
Okay.
But he's got a buddy. The two of them are just playing in the kudzu. Or fighting, I can't tell the difference.
One of the things that I realize when I'm trying to dive into or tap into my intuition is paying attention to these communications from the universe, like the snake appearing in your dream, this bird who is just like
full court press,
full in here, like what is being spoken to me, and is that is where your intuition is found, when you're really paying attention,
creating awareness
in
all things. And I think, and I had a conversation with a group recently about that's what spirituality is constantly cultivating awareness and being aware of all things all the time, and how we interact and how we react to those things. And the consensus of that was, that is really hard work. That sounds like exhausting to have to be that open all the time, and I agree. It is exhausting to an extent, but it is exhilarating.
Yeah.
If you just give yourself the opportunity to sit and enjoy that. And talking about like something as simple, a way of cultivating that, a tool to do that, is when you sit and eat a meal or have a cup of coffee, put your phone down, put the book down, turn the TV off, don't have a conversation with somebody, just sit there and enjoy the cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Right? Or the cup of tea or whatever you're drinking alone, and be in that moment, like, oh, I can taste all the things in that cup of coffee, whatever those are for you, right? And learn to build on it that way and notice those things instead of muddying it all up with other things at the same time. We feel like we need to be so efficient in our lives. We're like, if I'm not answering an email while drinking this cup of coffee, while folding clothes,
multitasker.
Right. If we're not, we think that if we're not doing 8 things at once, we're not being productive. But we can't. We can't enjoy the simple thing of the cup of coffee. We can't enjoy music. You know, like when you listen to a piece of music, what are you doing? Are you just distracting yourself? Yeah. Or are you immersing yourself in that moment? And that's the thing. Like everything that happens, we open ourselves up to, we can fully open ourselves up to, we can see some amazing things. But if we're clouding ourselves with a bunch of other junk, if we're face down on our phone,
you're just distracting yourself.
You're just distracting yourself for what purpose? You know, back to the coffee thing. You know, it's like we think about experiences, and we think about stuff that was in the past that was better. Maybe if you can think about the first time you had a cup of coffee, what was it like for you?
Oh,
it was gross, right? But somehow, for whatever reason, you've maybe developed a palate for it. And your taste buds can differentiate now, right?
Yeah.
So, but you became there was this, maybe it's a great cup of coffee, maybe it was a great cup of coffee in a great situation, like you were at the beach or you were with some really great people, and this coffee and the conversation was amazing, kind of like it is right now.
It's pretty amazing.
But then the next time you have that cup of coffee, you're like, it wasn't as good as that, because we've jaded ourselves.
Yeah.
And we think we've got to compare it to that time. Yeah, okay, well, this cup of coffee might not be as good as the last time, but it doesn't mean it's worse or better. It's just different.
Just different.
But we can't always put things like up against them. And so let's just be in the moment and go, hey, this is great. I enjoy this.
Yeah. What can I take from being in this moment now?
Right. Maybe not take.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just, how can I experience it fully?
Yeah.
And going back to what we said in the beginning, it's beginning and end, life and death. That experience is gone. That coffee cup, or that coffee that you had with your best friends at the beach.
That conversation.
That's over.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's bad but it's different now. You're a different Jen. I'm a different Andrew than I was then. So being fully awake into the experience that's presented in front of you. It's like if we hadn't moved this table and chairs, whatever 10 yards down here, would that bird have landed here, and would we've had that experience? I don't know. It just got weird.
Really weird.
Got really weird.
As long as you're not bringing any snakes into this space, we're fine. You and I were fine. I'm looking at the kudzu. The kudzu aforementioned is behind me, and I keep
It's all.
Let me tell you about snakes. One of my kids left the trunk open on my car the other week overnight, and as I'm driving them to school the next morning, all I could think of was a snake has taken up residence in my car and it's going to crawl out from underneath my seat.
As you do.
You've never heard of that happening?
Yeah.
Whatever. It has not happened to me yet, but that fear, something completely just bizarre, right? If anything, it's probably more of a mouse or a rat that got in my
or nothing.
And that's what he's after, or nothing. So this was a couple weeks ago, and I believe that nothing took up residence in my car, but that's the only connection I've had to snakes lately. You didn't ask. Okay.
Dynamite. All right, so we're going to wrap up this episode. Maybe come back for something in a bit. But when you go to sleep tonight, remember your dreams. Put a little piece of paper and a pen next to your nightstand. Tell whoever you're sleeping in the bed with, like, hey, I may or may not wake up at 3 a.m. here, so just an FYI.
It's fine. We're not under attack.
Yeah, we're not under attack. Tell them it's perfectly okay. I've just got a couple things I need to sort out. But take that moment, spend some time repeating that to yourself as you fall asleep. Remember your dreams. And if you're lucky enough to remember them and write them down, come back to them, maybe not the next morning or a couple days, and see maybe if there's a connection there, like with what's going on in your life, in connecting those dots a bit to your dreams, and maybe we can start to, glean some information about something deeper that's going on. So glad to be back. No Expectations. The podcast continues to
begin again.
So enjoy your day.